Okay, so I was talking yesterday about triggers, and I'm going to take you guys on this really cool path that I went down yesterday. And so I talked about, following those triggers and figuring out what, they mean and kind of the limiting beliefs and the thought process of how you have one thing and it might not even be related to something until you follow that little rabbit hole like Alice in Wonderland down and figure it out and have your like, oh crap kind of moment. So I have three teenagers. Yes, yes, things are a little bit crazy with me. I have a 16-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 12-year-old. I round up with my 12-year-old because, I mean, 2 out of 3 math odds, I can round up. Okay. Um, Also, they're going to be, uh, their birthdays are in October, November, and December. So that's coming up here shortly. So, it's already there. So with my kids, I know they are my kids. I know they're my kids because their smartassery comes from me. And I know this. I'm aware of this. But sometimes I'm not seeing other things. And so something that really hit yesterday was the fact that I was driving to go pick up my kids to take them to a school carnival that my middle daughter was having. Her school was doing the end of year school carnival. My 16-year-old daughter did not want to go because, that would be lame. And, she didn't want to go and do this. She didn't want it. There wasn't going to be any good food there. And she didn't want to just wander around aimlessly, not doing anything. And she didn't know anybody there. And so, like she had a lot of good reasons why, which I do understand. When I got there, though, I pulled the aggressive parent move. And in the moment, I wasn't thinking, I wasn't paying attention. And I told her, like I, in a joking way, said, get your butt up here. But I came off in aggressive way. And I didn't realize in the moment how aggressive I was sounding. And so it was something that I thought I sounded normal. And her and I kind of were at an energetic kind of standstill, I would say. And I understood her reasonings why, but then I told her how I didn't appreciate the way that she was speaking to me. And she has full freedom to be able to talk about her feelings as well. I I will listen, and she called me out and she said, "Well, I only matched your energy. You came in, being aggressive." And I was like, "Oh, sucker punch." That one hit pretty hard. I was like, "Dang. You're right. You're right. You are so right. I did." And I apologize for that. That was not okay for me to come in the way that I did. I I apologized. And after that, it kind of had me thinking, cuz then the wheels are turning, cuz then I'm like, "Wait a minute. How often do I do that? When do I do that? Like, is it something that I'm always doing that? Am I coming across that way? Like then I'm like, yes, of course I'm overthinking. I know I am. But that's how I get my mind kind of like jumping. It's going. And then I just kind of like let it go. Um, we went to the carnival and the two youngest, my 14-year-old and my 12-year-old son and my 14-year-old daughter came. We went to the carnival and then I also picked up my 14-year-old daughter's friend, and we all three went to the carnival. And it was a good time. I mean, granted, yes, the food was limited. And the games were kind of, stuff that only my youngest son, actually, my 12-year-old, was having fun going and doing and everything. And so it was very limited. And she would have been grumpy and, teenage angst and angry and, she would have been down that road. And so I'm glad she didn't go, because I knew that if I dragged her out to that, she would have been pissed and it would have brought down the mood of the whole thing. Okay, great. Then I realized that when I was listening to my daughter, my 14-year-old daughter, with her friends all kind of like backhanded like comments to each other and everything, I heard all of these, and then I've noticed that my kids will say something and then it's like, oh, it's just a joke, we were just kidding, but it's still hurtful. And I don't like hearing it. But in the moment, right then and there, whenever I was with my daughter, I made a comment that was really rude, and I said something to her, and I stopped afterwards and I was like, oh crap. You guys learned this from me. Like, this is where it came from, and I'm doing it, and I'm the problem. Which I'm not meaning like, I'm the problem. Not like, no, I can fix this. Like, I can change that. I can alternate the timeline that I'm on and move to a different timeline to where I don't do that. That's easy. It's not difficult to do that. Just stop doing those things, Yeah, it's going to be a little bit difficult because, like, if I do them, then I'm going to have to apologize for it. But once I get my brain trained, once I've had it shifted, no big deal. Now, here comes the really difficult part, is getting a bunch of teenagers to join in on this. Because, that requires hard work and actually, like, trying. And why would I do that? So I have a plan. I don't know how this is going to work, but I'm going to run it by them. Money. Money is the best thing to initiate teenagers to do something. So we're going to discuss this. I'll let you guys know what we come up with, because I feel like this could change things. It could be revolutionary in our family. So we'll see how that goes. But now, back to the whole 2 things that I realized I was doing. I realized that I come off aggressive sometimes. Not always, but sometimes whenever I get upset, I guess is the word, because I get upset about something, and so I become aggressive about it. And that's not something that I want to be, or nor do I want to do it. And I've noticed that it is a pattern that I have kind of like started to pick up with different circumstances, with my car repairs, with my kids, with, like a few things. So something that I noticed is a pattern that I am portraying. Second is the whole me speaking negatively, the snide comments, the backhanded compliments kind of thing. That as well was something that I was doing, thinking that it was funny when it's not. These 2 things hit a whole different level today when I kind of let it sit and marinate yesterday after, because once I realized that I said that to her, and I realized that, like, that wasn't okay, I apologized, and I'm still working on my apologies not being an explanation, but just being an just an apology. I have to catch myself. Like I'm doing better with it. To just apologize. Not explain why, just apologize. And that's something that my son does. He learned it from me. Again, like I said, I am teaching them these things. And so it's up to me to unlearn, fix, correct, and reteach. Okay. So, as I apologized and everything like that, I kind of let it sit and I went to work and I drove some more for Uber. And, you know, it was something that it really kind of like, I let it sit at the back of my brain while I was working. And it kind of came to me as I was driving, because that's kind of how my brain works, because I'm more focused on driving, that sometimes the things start to kind of just work its way through. I realized, and today, whenever I finally like pieced it all together this morning, I was trying so hard for the longest time to not be like my mother, that I had inadvertently became her and was still carrying these traits, this old programming that was not that I did not like, but I still had. I was still holding on to stuff that was subconsciously still running until I saw it, like until I actually looked at it and owned it and was like, oh, that's mine. That's my crap. That's my crap that I have passed on. So, recognizing that, that's whenever I came to that conclusion that sometimes when we, and I say me, like we, as in people that have been in very toxic families and very abusive family homes, when we have been in those, we sometimes, without realizing it, pick that stuff up. And even though we don't want to be like that person, we try so hard to avoid it. We try so hard to not, I don't want to be like that person. I never want to be like that person. I don't want to be that person. But the fact that you are focused on not being that person, you become that person because you are so fixated on that person. You have to realize that once you let go of that, let me put that down so I can talk with my hands more, because I love to use my hands. I don't know, I don't think I could actually stand there without moving my hands. I feel so weird doing this. Like, this is so uncomfortable. Like, no. Ugh. Okay, back on track. Because we are trying so hard to not be that person, you become it because you're so hyper focused on the things that person did that were painful, or, you know, that you didn't like, that you actually start doing that. Example, my son does not like to have his nickname used anymore. He doesn't like his nickname anymore that he once had as a younger child, and it was Bubba. He does not like it. He doesn't want to be called it anymore. I am telling myself, don't say Bubba, 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 don't say Bubba. I'm thinking it, and then as I like talk to him, I'm like, hey Bubba, and I'm like, I'm sorry, Christian, you know, like I have to just let go of trying not to, and know that you won't be. That's where I finally came to that conclusion today. Because as I was writing in my journal, as I was, you know, processing all of this stuff that came up, it hit me because I did not want to be like my own mother, who really hated me. And when I say hated me, she hated me. Like, I mean, if you look at Cinderella and the stepmom, that was my mom. And that was my real mom. That was not my stepmom. That was my real mom. She hated me. Because of the relationship between my father and I, she saw me as the other woman and hated me. And it was something that she used every opportunity to nitpick and jab and, all of that at me, and to, verbally abuse me multiple times over, any chance she got when my father was not home, which was a lot. And so, it was something that, because of her hatred and her anger towards me, she just took everything out on me. Now, with that, it wouldn't have looked that way on the outside because, covert narcissism, they're really good at hiding that. They don't look that way on the outside. But my mother is also a very classic Karen, and that's her name. She fits her name well. So it's one of those things that, because of that, I swore to myself and to my kids that I would never become that woman. And inadvertently, because I was so hyper-focused on not, I became. And I tried so hard for the longest time not to be like her. And eventually, it was last night that I realized that I'm not. I may have old programming that's still there that I can overwrite, toss out, meditate, visualize, and completely change the timeline and decide right here in this moment, choice, that that's not going to happen anymore. That I can do. But I also realized that I'm not, because it was a very beautiful moment. Like, I might cry because that's how beautiful it was for me. I realized last night, whenever I was driving my daughter and son back to their father's house, my daughter said, Mom, I don't care what you think or what you say, but I am going to take care of you when you get older. And she's like, well, I might have to fight Emily for it, but we'll see. and it really got me thinking, because I am so lucky to have kids that are wanting to fight over who gets to take care of me when I get old. That's not very common. The norm is the kids are fighting over who has to take care of the parents. That's usually like the fight that, hey, it's you need to go take care of mom because you're the oldest, or you need to take care of mom because you have the most money, or like whatever it may be. Not very many kids are fighting each other to take care of the parent. And that was my confirmation that I will never be like that woman. I've already so far changed that trajectory of my life. And so I can let these things go so easily like that. For me, that's why I can let it go. But also in the aspect of when you integrate your shadow, and whenever you notice these things about yourself, not just completely like shunning them and being like, oh, that's not pretty about me, I'm gonna hide that away in the closet. No, transforming them. The alchemy of it is taking those things. Like, for me, the first one was the attitude. How do you take that and make it into a positive? Well, easy. You look at it in the aspect of like, someone that has attitude is able to freely express their voice. They are able to stand up and speak up easily. That is a power. That is a superpower that not very many people have. So for someone to feel like they can they can give attitude is a great thing, because that attitude is a strength to help others who are being bullied or who can't speak up. That you need to have that kind of grit to stand up in life, to be able to be strong in life. So I learned that from my mom. As much as I did not like the woman for the way that she treated me and for how things were between us, I am grateful for those lessons. I am grateful for learning these things so that I can teach them to my kids as well. And also, being able to channel that attitude a little bit better is the way to do it. Kind of like there's a time and a place for attitude, and we're going to discuss this, that kind of thing. The negative comments. That one, now, that one, it has a little bit of a trick to it. And I say this because of the fact that that's not something that you should do with people that you love. I feel like that's just a little bit, a little bit much. But whenever you need to disarm someone that is not so nice, or a bully, or someone that is a narcissist that thinks they can push their weight around, that kind of thing, it's a great trick, because it easily is your wit. That's what that is those comments can be used as a superpower as well. So you can find people's, and this is something that I have a dark side on, is that I did learn this as well from my mother, is that she could easily spot your weaknesses and use them against you. So for that reason, it's good to have those tools in your bag in case they are actually needed. But you don't need to be using those tools on your friends and your family. It's not something to be, pulling out these tools and using them excessively. They are like a backup plan for when you get into a situation with someone that is going to be, a predator, domineering. I'm not one for fighting, but definitely something that when you need to verbally disarm someone that is trying to be overpowering to you, then that is a tool that should be used. Because if you can get someone with your words, never throw a punch, but with your words, that's the best way to actually kind of de-escalate the whole situation. Granted, some people will go in the opposite direction once you use those words, because then they get even more pissed off. Just saying, I'm learning that one from experience. Yeah. But that was something that I was very naive with my words, and that was back whenever I was married with my ex-husband, and my words pissed him off even more, which resulted in more domestic violence. So that's why I say, be careful how you use your words. But like I said earlier, that, the superpower of being able to speak up is something that I learned and I appreciate. So integrating that shadow part, that's where, I'm actually taking what I have learned and I am now implementing it. So, I just want to say that I love you guys, and, keep trying, keep pushing. Triggers, see where I went with mine is that I saw something and I reacted to it. I went down and, was able to see that it was pointed out. And then I followed it down to where, I was able to actually break it down to the root cause of what the trigger was and why I had that trigger, and then take it, reframe it, find the positive silver lining in it, and then turn around and be grateful for it. And, working finding necessary steps to be able to kind of adjust things and to be able to make it a better thing. So, just that's what I'm talking about exactly when it comes to triggers, is that I am now aware, and now we can do something about it. And now it doesn't really have any power over me because I see it as a positive thing. So now I don't think I'm going to praise my kids for having attitude and, making negative comments towards each other or, towards me. But it doesn't have its power over me anymore to where I react anymore to it. It's more along the lines of just letting it be what it is and being able to point it out and be like, hey, I don't think that's appropriate. Could you please not do that? Instead of, being like, how dare you? And, I don't think I'd go that far, but just saying, it's changing the power that it has over you. And so you are strong, you are capable, you can do this. If I can do it, you can do it. I'm here for you and I love you. Okay? Peace out. Let's do this. Come on.